Germany, 1640s, Germany was the center of the empire. 1790s, before the liquidation of the Holy Roman Empire in the Napoleonic Wars. 1930s to 1940s, time before Hitler's defeat. Next peak 2070s or 2080s. France, 1660s, first part of the reign of Louis XIV and victory in the war with Spain. 1810s, time before Napoleon's defeat. 1950s and beginning of 1960s, the peak, Charles de Gaulle's reign. Next peak 2100s. USA, 1770s, Declaration of Independence. 1920s, the Roaring Twenties. Next peak 2060s. China, 1690s, the early decades of the Qing dynasty. 1840s or 1850s, before the Opium Wars. 2000s or 2010s, before the trade wars. Next peak 2150s. Russia, 1700s, the time of Peter the Great. 1840s, before the Crimean War. 1980s, before the collapse of the USSR. Next peak 2130. 144-year-old lowlands in the history of countries. Germany, 1650s, the loss of influence by the Holy Roman Empire after the 30 Years' War. 1800s, dissolution of the Holy Roman Empire. 1940s to 1950s, a decade after Hitler's defeat. Next low 2090s to 2100s. France, 1820s, decade after Napoleon's defeat. The second half of 1960s and 1970s, since the youth and student uprisings in 1968. Next low 2110s. USA, 1780s, American Revolutionary War. 1930s, the Great Depression. Next low 2070s or 2080s. China, 1740s, uprisings, 1890s and later, time after the Opium Wars, until the overthrow of the Qing Empire. Next low 2030s and later. Russia, 1720s, the epoch of palace coups. 1850s to 1860s, after the defeats in the Crimean War. 1990s, consequences of the collapse of the USSR. Next low 2140s. The bottoms are replaced by tops with a lag only 10 to 20 years. That is, from 144-year-old rides to 144-year-old bottoms only a few years. This reminds us of the essence of movements on the stock market, where growth is slow and decline is fast.